Hello, everybody. This is Jacob Sapochnik with the Enchanting Lawyer Podcast. This is a show where we interview the most inspiring entrepreneurs and business people who share the stories with us and inspire us to do our job better and more effective. And today, I have actually a very special guest and a very special different topic. We often look at technology and different ways to improve our business, but we never think about the mental and the mindset of why we do what we do and how we do it. And our guest today is going to talk about some very, very interesting things that he does and help us change that. I'm having Jim Bunch today. Jim is known as the ultimate life entrepreneur, whose mission is to inspire happiness, health, and wealth worldwide. As founder of the Ultimate Game of Life programs, he and his coaches have helped hundreds of thousands of people in 50 countries achieve major life and business results. His two passions are technology and transformation. So whether it's launching a new business venture or helping an entrepreneur upgrade their life, there's a common thread you'll find in whatever Jim Bunch does, and that's inspiring and bringing out the best in people. He has over 19 years of professional speaking experience and has given more than 1,000 presentations on business and life transformation. Today he writes, lectures, and serves as the chairman of the board with the U.S. Green Chamber of Commerce, and I'm so excited and honored to have Jim on the show. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you, Jacob. It's great to reconnect with you and to connect with your listeners.
Absolutely. And just to tell our listeners, I met Jim at one of John Assaraf's events where I was a speaker, and Jim was leading an interesting program that he'll tell us about, and it was such a true pleasure to connect. And I learned so much, and I'm very excited for you to come here to share your wisdom with our listeners. How are you doing today?
Absolutely wonderful, man.
Excellent. So, Jim, why don't you, I introduced you a little bit, but why don't you tell us in your own words a bit about your background and exactly what you do?
Well, as you kind of mentioned earlier, I have really two passions for the last 20 plus years in business, and that is technology and transformation. And the technology, about 17 years ago, we started a website company called a WYSIWYG company, which just basically meant, instead of having to hire a designer and a coder and builds the shopping cart and all that, we built one of the first all-in-one website systems. And we still own that company today, but I've pretty much outsourced the running and the day-to-day of that. Mm-hmm. But that fascination for technology grew, as you mentioned. John Assaraf and I built a company called bamboo.com with some friends of ours. We grew it from 6 employees to 1,500 employees in a year and went public in 0 to 9 months. So what we realized at that point, and we built 2 other tech companies since, is that we've got an ability through technology, like you're doing on this podcast, to reach people across the world and to literally change their life, change the way that we connect, change the way that we communicate, but more importantly, change the way that we do life. And so my fascination for technology has always been, how do we transform industries, and ultimately, how do we transform people's lives and maybe the planet? And that has been what I've studied. That's where we've launched our companies, and it's just been a fascinating journey.
I know, and I've been reading a bit about what you've done, and together with Joan, it's totally amazing and fascinating. One of the things that you teach to students around the world is something called the 9 environments of you. And I'm very curious about this, and why don't you share with us what it's all about?
Yeah, let me give you the core principle of why this is so important, and then I know people are listening to a podcast. There's a visual side to this. So if you're listening to the podcast, if you can and you're not driving, grab a piece of paper, 8.5 by 11, and a pen, because I'm going to have you draw out this concept when we teach it in a moment.
And Jim, just one thing I want to mention, that those who are listening, we'll have a little video at the end, which we'll have as an extra on our show notes, just to see that visual thing, because I think it's beautiful with colors. And also, we'll have a surprise for our listeners at the end. So go ahead, Jim.
Absolutely. This concept is something that was shared with me by one of my mentors, a gentleman by the name of Thomas Leonard. And I've had some great mentors. Tony Robbins was a mentor. I traveled and worked with Tony for a year. Then Bob Proctor from The Secret. Many people know him, and some incredible business mentors. Well, what happened is I was one of these guys that was not only going to these live events and these seminars and doing firewalks and walking on glass and breaking arrows on my neck and doing all this kind of stuff, thinking, all right, this is what it's going to take to get me to the next level in my business and in my life. And it worked for me. But as I traveled from city to city to city, I noticed that I was amongst the minority. I was the very small percentage of the people that were actually succeeding. And it got frustrating to me because I saw in city after city people who were spending thousands of dollars, tons of time, taking time away from their business, away from their family. And in that seminar room, they were excited. They were pumped up. They thought they could change the world. But then something happened. They went back to their same old environments. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand the power of environments that they have on our subconscious mind, the power the environments have on our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, basically on our life, until Thomas Leonard shared with me this concept. Now, keep in mind, you're seeing the end result of me after 20 some odd years. But when I really got this message, it was after I had learned a lot of this personal development stuff, and I ended up in a very dark place in my life. I actually ended up living in a bomb shelter for a year in Southern California. And, you can go check this out. You're in San Diego, but down in Point Loma, when I first moved to California, I didn't know anybody out here. And I didn't have a job. I didn't have any income. I didn't have any savings. I was living off of credit cards. And I found myself in a very deep, dark place, what some might call the dark night of the soul, if you will. Mm-hmm. And that year in the bomb shelter, when I say a bomb shelter, let me clarify, because some people are like, well, there's no bombs going. but back in the 50s in Point Loma, which is, surrounded by the military, in the bottom of these old houses, they would build bomb shelters, and you would walk down a set of stairs and to a concrete box, basically. And when I first moved to California, I didn't know anybody. A friend of mine called and said, hey, I'm moving back to California. A friend of mine's got a 2-bedroom house, but I'm in one bedroom, he's in the other. But there's a bomb shelter down in the bottom. Maybe you can stay there for a couple of weeks till you find a place to live. And that couple of weeks turned into a year. And what's crazy about this is that there was no natural lighting. Right? And we all know how important lighting is to our mood, our mindset, all this. Mm-hmm. You'd walk down the set of stairs, turn the corner. The only lighting was a $20 halogen lamp. I had a mattress on the floor, literally just a mattress, no box spring, no nothing. I had a comforter, and I had a drafting table, one of those $99 drafting tables. That was my environment. And it became one of the hardest times of my life. And the worst part wasn't just that I financially was broke. I was living in a drama-filled relationships. All my relationships seemed to be about drama. I was drinking, I was doing drugs, I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But the worst part wasn't being financially broke. The worst part was being spiritually lost. I had no idea what I was doing. And every time I tried to move forward, it felt like something was pulling me back. Mm-hmm. Well, at the very lowest part, and I'm sharing this because I want people to understand the power of our environments to control our thoughts, our feelings, and our ultimate results in life. But at the very lowest point of that bomb shelter, I had been dating a girl for a few months who I thought was broken up with her boyfriend. Well, apparently that wasn't the case, because he and one of his football buddies broke into the main house, held one of my friends up against the wall, and then came down the stairs at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black. We've got light shining in our eyes. He's standing over us, and he says, "You better not be naked underneath that." Well, fortunately, she had my shirt on. So that was the good news.
Wow.
But he drags her out of there in the middle of the night. I'm obviously panicked. I'm confused. I'm startled. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's got a gun standing over me or what. But he drags her out into his car. They take off. We end up calling the cops, and they finally find them and arrest him, put him in jail for kidnapping. I couldn't sleep for the next day or two. But what happened at that point was there was something in my environment that I had said I was going to do. I was going to read. I never did, but I finally picked it up. It was a book called Conversations with God. Have you ever read that?
I heard about it. I have not read that one.
Okay, so it's by Neil Donald Walsh, and it just happened to be the right conversation at the right time. I read that book from cover to cover, and finally it hit me what I was supposed to be here to do. And instantly, it was as if the universe aligned to pull me out of the darkest place, to give me hope, to give me inspiration. And that led me to the next step. And that next step is this Thomas Leonard. When I finally got out of there, I moved from a bomb shelter to a beach house over on the cliffs in Solana Beach within 90 days. My business grew to 6 figures in 90 days. And it's like my life immediately changed. I started driving sports cars and Rolexes and all this stuff. So that's the after story and the beginning of building the business in this. But the reason I share this story and the reason I've committed time away from my business and time away from my family to share this with people is because I know for a fact that when people understand this concept of the power of their environments, you're going to look around, and so is everybody else, and you're going to realize that the environments that you have around you are either inspiring you and adding energy to you. They're bringing you up into your greatness. They're bringing you up into being the best entrepreneur, the best lawyer, the best husband, the best wife, the best whatever it is. They're either inspiring you and adding energy, or they're expiring you and draining you. They're pulling you down. They're holding you back. They're silently controlling your subconscious mind, and most people are not even aware of the impact of the environments, much less what they are.
Right. So you're saying that we have these different environments, both internal and external, such as self, body, physical, financial, relationship. And what I'm hearing you say is that by consciously designing your environments, what happens is that your mindset, beliefs, behaviors, and habits kind of begin to change, and you find yourself moving in a way closer to your goals. Is that more or less how it works? It should work?
That is the quick synopsis of the environments. Now, the key to it, and as you said, we're going to give people a visual of this later, but I'm going to walk people through each of these environments and then some key points around it. Because when you have environments that are designed properly, you will achieve your goals with less effort. You'll be more effective in your day. You'll have less stress. You'll be more focused. All right. You won't have to rely on willpower to reach your goals. You won't force yourself. You won't be operating off of adrenaline. All right. And you're not going to rely on yourself. You're going to delegate your success to the environments. Your environments become your partners in your success. You know this. Have you ever worked out with a buddy or hired a personal trainer or been a part of a sports team?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just the fact that you're in the environment of that trainer or that sports team, you're naturally going to push your body environment to another level, right? All right. Have you ever been around people who are healthy? They eat healthy. They take care of their minds, their bodies. They're organic. They're vegan. They're any of this. When you go to dinner with them, is that different than the group of friends that we all have that we know, but they want to drink, or maybe they even smoke, or they eat fried foods? When you're around them, which is stronger, your willpower or the environment?
Of course, the willpower.
In the beginning, it's willpower. But if you're around them time after time after time, which becomes stronger?
The environment.
The environments. And this is one of the core principles to understand. Number one, everything is an environment. If you look around your office right now, you're in a physical environment, right? We talk about the physical environment being your home, your office, your possessions. Well, what most people don't realize is that the majority of the decisions you make throughout the day are based on the anchors from your environments. So if you have clutter in your office, if you have confusion or chaos or broken equipment, things that you tolerate, things that drain your energy, I promise you this, it's distracting you from your ability to achieve your ultimate goals.
And I like this, Jim, because I was going to ask you this question, because I want to go through the environments. I don't know if we'll have time in this short podcast to go over or 9, but let's focus, for example, on the physical. And I wanted you to share the story of the 2 women who saved their relationship actually by changing the environment in their bedroom. And then we can, I wanted to know from you, what are some of the tips, maybe we can tie it in for lawyers, professionals who are listening to this podcast, and they can use to upgrade their homes or their offices, which kind of ties into what you start telling us about.
Absolutely. So let's dive in, and we'll dive deeper into a couple of them. But one of the key points that story elicits is that, number one, everything's an environment. So look around and take inventory of everything and ask yourself: is it inspiring me or expiring me? Is it adding energy or draining energy? Because everything is. So if you've got stuff in your environment that's draining you, it's holding you back. Well, what happened was that we had a couple, two ladies that were dating. They were happy. They were in love, and they decided that they were going to move in together. Okay. Well, one of them was a real estate agent, and the other was an artist. And what happened is that when they moved in, they didn't have enough room for both of them to have an office. So the real estate agent said, "Hey, no worries. You know what? There's a temporary solution. Why don't we do this? We'll put an office in the bedroom for right now, and we'll work together. We'll make this thing happen, and we'll get a bigger place soon." Well, they went from having a passionate, loving, joy-filled, excited relationship to one that started to become tolerations, one that became less exciting, one that the sex life actually began to diminish, one that they began to tolerate and judge and criticize each other. And they couldn't figure out what it was. And the first thing I said is, hey, listen, what shifts have you made? What changes to the environment have you made? Now, this is not feng shui, right? And feng shui is great, but this is at a whole different level. This is talking about not just the energy, but the psychology of behavior based on physical, tangible and non-tangible things in your environment. So they shot me over a picture, and I said, all right, you don't need to send any more. They shot me a picture of the bedroom, and I said, all right, let me guess. And you could see the desk in there, and the desk had clutter on it, had a computer on it. And I said, let me just play out the scenario. Have you guys began to communicate less? Yes. Have you began to tolerate each other? Yes. Have you began to get angry at each other? Yes. And I said, okay, here's what happens. When you mix environments like the bedroom and work, by the way, what's the bedroom? What are the two things you're supposed to do in a bedroom? Can we say on here?
Sleep and
sleep and make love, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So if that's the two things, the two behaviors we're trying to drive, you have to design that environment for those things. So the colors, the lighting, this, for example, when you're trying to sleep, you're supposed to be in pitch black. You need to have your eyes covered. You should have your ears plugged. You should be in a temperature that is about ambient with your body or a little cooler. It allows you to sleep better and get rest. You hit the REM state faster, so therefore, you're recharged when you wake up. Okay. For intimacy, sex, or love, you're going to want certain colors in there. You might want soft reds or tones like that. The lighting might be candles or things like that. You might have imagery in there that stimulates a passion or love or joy. It might be pictures of family. It might be trips you've taken. Whatever it is, these are all anchors that are working on you. Well, imagine now that you had that, your relationship's passionate, and then you put a desk in there with clutter, with this, that. Well, here's the crazy thing. Not only was the relationship suffering, financially the real estate business began to crash because the relationship was suffering. See, all the environments are connected. So the first thing I said is, I don't care where you put that desk, but you've got to remove that desk from the bedroom because it's impacting your relationships. And we all know when your relationships start to go south, you can't focus on your business. So how can you succeed in business if your relationships are falling down? Ask anybody who's getting a divorce. They know this. So the short and the narrow is that something as simple as cleaning up an environment can change your energy. Something as big as moving homes can completely transform your life. And over time, what we find is that if people become what I call architectural design artists, in other words, they begin to do life by design instead of life by default, you can walk around your home, you can walk around your office, you can take a look at the networks of friends that you have, you can even look at your core belief systems, your what we call memetics, your ideas, your beliefs, the concepts that you hold to be true about yourself and about the world. If we reprogram those from the outside in and the inside out, we can literally transform our lives. If you ask yourself what's the difference between a 100,000-aire, a millionaire, and a billionaire, 9 times out of 10, if you ask the billionaire, they're going to say something that says, it's because of my inner game and my outer game. It's because of the people I associate with, the network that I have. It's because of the vision. It's because of my beliefs. Look at the environments around those people. What they've done is they put themselves in the right environments to succeed. What happens with people who constantly struggle? they remain in the same environments year after year after year, and they wonder why they go to a seminar for 2 days, and then they come back to their same old environment for 363 days, and they can't change.
Right. And they use excuses to continue fueling that frustration.
Well, the excuse is a response to the environment. They're looking at this. I'll give you an example. Somebody goes to the seminar and they see somebody on stage talking about how they can build a business to $1 billion, how they can travel the world in Lear jets, how they can, whatever it is, right? Whatever gets them excited. And then they come back and they see the reality that they have. They lose track of the environments they're trying to attain, and they get stuck on the ones that they have because these environments are working on you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you don't upgrade the environments, you can't upgrade your life. It's almost impossible because willpower will never win long term over the environments.
Right. But what do you think it's so hard for people to change those environments?
Well, it's really not. It just depends on where they start. Anyone right now, while listening to this podcast, could take a look at an environment around them. And I'll give you a simple example. Right now, we live in a world where there's way too much access to information. It's not that we go get information. Information is pushed to us through our mobile phones, our computers, our cars now have it. I mean, it's everywhere, right? Yeah. So one of the best things that people can do is start to eliminate things in their environment that are taking away their focus. So go in and unsubscribe from the 20 newsletters that you don't really need. Hit delete on all of your emails. This happened to me actually this last year. I thought because I run everything through Gmail, and I thought I was archiving everything. Apparently I hit delete all, and then when a pop-up said, "Are you sure you want to delete all?" I hit yes again somehow. I lost every email I had from the beginning of time through Gmail. My first response was, "Oh crap!" See, we respond because we're programmed and conditioned by the environment to be comfortable or familiar. Actually, most people are not comfortable. They're just familiar in an uncomfortable environment. So we get programmed for that. But here's the simple reality. My first response was a negative reaction to a change in the environment. And then all of a sudden, I had a shift in my memetics. I had a shift in my beliefs. I went, wait a minute. All that information that I'm holding on to, that newsletter, that business report, that whatever, I know where to go find that stuff if I need it. I don't have to have it pushed down my throat every day. So I immediately unsubscribe from every single newsletter. So I have no emails, no newsletters, and my inbox was at 0. Now, Jacob, be transparent here. When you look at your inbox, how many emails do you have in there?
Well, I have I'm getting about 250 emails a day. So, in the inbox, I have about 85,000 emails.
Okay. Now, when you open that up, do you feel a source of inspiration or desperation, responsibility? Like, what is the feeling?
Probably something in the middle. I feel, and I think a lot of professionals, especially attorneys, we try to make sure that we respond to a client, or if it's maybe from court, or maybe it's from a business partner or something. But I feel more of overwhelm as opposed to inspiration.
There you go. Absolutely. So that environment is having an impact on you every day. And how often do you check your email daily?
I check it a lot. And in fact, the problem with the phones right now is that it's like you have a computer with you, which is a big problem because I check my email constantly. In fact, people make fun of me because of that.
Okay, so what's happened is the environment is now controlling you, and you already said I feel a sense of overwhelm. So if you wanted to continue to program yourself to be overwhelmed, keep that environment in place. If you don't, you need to change the environment. When I deleted all my emails, I felt a sense of freedom. I felt a sense of creativity. I felt a sense of inspiration. And I made a commitment, and I only made it about 90 days to keep that inbox at 0. I was either going to delete it or delegate it or do something with it. And I made it about 90 days. I went away on vacation for a couple of weeks. It packed up, and then I went, all right, I'm back in the loop. So I'm going to make a commitment to go back and get my inbox to 0. And I would challenge you and anybody else to just do it as an environmental test. Archive everything, even if you don't want to delete it. Archive everything and watch what happens when you come back to an inbox with 0.
Yeah, I know it.
Okay?
I'll put it in my list. It's one of the action items from this call for sure. Jim, I wanted to talk to you about mindset because I think for us, whether we are lawyers, other professionals who deal with people, mindset is so important. So, what do you think we as professionals constantly need to upgrade our mindset, and how can we do this?
Well, the easiest way is to take inventory of the information that's coming in. Okay. Now, there are certain industries and certain jobs where you're exposed to more negativity than you are positivity, right? So if you're in the media, for example, let's say you work for a news station and you're in charge of, reporting the crimes, well, that's going to impact you because your environment now becomes a constant indoctrination of what's not working in the world. That's a challenge. I was over at a friend of ours, I won't mention her name, but a friend of ours who is a producer. She's got 14 TVs on her wall. She is a major, major producer for the largest news media station out there. You'd know it if we said it. And as I sat there, she was challenged. She was running through some struggles in her life. She was challenged. She couldn't make decisions. She felt like she was stuck, but the money was there, da, da, da. And I walked into her office. This is her home office, and she's got all these TVs on the wall, and it's constantly feeding in the latest current events because she had to take that and then make sure that the team created the news that night. And I said, let me get this straight. For 14 hours a day, sometimes more, you're constantly being fed this information. She said, yeah. I go, is this the best or the worst media in the world? She goes, it's pretty much the worst stuff. That's what sells. And I said, so do you have any wonder why you're having trouble being positive in your life? Why you're having trouble building your relationships and getting your health in shape and all this? You have a 14-hour mental indoctrination of negativity every single day. She's like, what do I do? And I said, well, if you want to live a better life, then you can do one of two things. You can either remove that environment. In other words, find another vocation, or you can change the industry. It's up to you.
Wow. No, that's these are things that we don't think about because we live in it. But when somebody else is pointing it out to us, then it's either the choice of taking action or not. Continue living your life that way.
So you're an attorney, right?
Yeah.
And there are attorneys who deal with some of the worst case scenarios. And if they're indoctrinated in that every day, and trust me, someone needs to do this because things happen in the world. But when I see it draining people, when I see it destroying people's lives, when I see it impacting their health, when I see attorneys that are dying of heart attacks at 40 and 50 years old, when I see them going through 2 and 3 and 4 marriages, when I see them shooting themselves in the head because they can't handle the stress, it hurts my soul to think that people are simply unaware of the impact that the environments are having on all of us every single day. And we can shift that.
Right. And I think it's important for people to realize that they have to look at this and see it that way as, everything is an environment and you can change it if you really want to, or at least to try.
Yeah, a fun little game for people to do is a 24-hour challenge where you walk around with a piece of paper. And once you have the 9 environments diagram that you and I are looking at, it'll be easier for everybody to put context around this information because it's very visual. And what I want to talk a little bit about that environment, but for this 24 hours, you can take this wheel around and you can simply write down 2 things on each of the environments. As you go throughout your day, you're going to write down the things that inspire you. In other words, they add energy. Inspire is in spiritus, right? To the spirit within. So when things are working in our life, we have more energy. Why do we have more energy? Because our soul is present. As we get drained, as we get torn down, as we tolerate life, our soul wants to leave the experience. So we have less energy. So write down all the things that inspire you in your environments and do it like an inventory list, and then write down the things that expire you. Look at your office, look at your computer, look at your phone, look at your relationships, look at your network, look at the team that works with you, look at your clients. A lot of people don't realize that the types of clients you have are either inspiring you or expiring you. Yep. I only allow people around me that are positive and fun and living an ultimate life. Listen, there's plenty of people out there that's not their path. But I can tell you this, I'm going to be around people who are fun and inspiring and doing good in the world. That's the way it works. So when you look at these environments, there's a key point. In the middle of the graph, and for those of you who are just listening this the first time, you can visualize this. There's really 3 circles. In the very middle circle is the word YOU. That's the part of you that's been here forever. It's always been here, it always will be. When the human body dies, we take our last breath, the mass change has been said to be approximately 21 grams. Well, what leaves the body? Some would say the soul, the spirit, universe, God, energy, whatever you want to call it. It's the thing that connects everything. So that's the YOU. That part actually doesn't change. The next piece is the memetics. Now, memetics is your ideas, your beliefs, your concepts. It's all the information coming in your head. I know that you're a big fan of John's neuroscience work, right?
Absolutely.
So when you put those headphones on and you listen to the brain entrainment software and it starts dumping stuff into your subconscious mind and pushing out the old stuff, you are adding an environment called the neurogym, if you will, to your subconscious. And what it's doing is it's roto-rooting the beliefs and the concepts that you built from the age of 0 to 10. Most of our core beliefs about life, money, relationships, finances, the people we can associate with, what our potential is, that's all formed between the age of 0 to 10 by the people around us, by our environments, by our father, mother, church, state, and media. Those are the 5 things that indoctrinate us to all of our beliefs. If I take a child and I raise him in Southern California, he's going to have a different language pattern, a different set of beliefs, a different worldview than if I raise him in China. We all know that's true. He'll speak a different language. He'll have a different reality about wealth. He'll understand different things about the world. Those are just beliefs. They're paradigms. They're the way we see the world. And we can and should upgrade our beliefs by upgrading our environments. Now, the memetics is that second inner circle. That's what we call the inner game. If the inner game changes short term, but the outer 8 environments don't change, the outer 8 environments will pull the inner game back into the old thinking, and vice versa. If the outer environments begin to change, somebody loses 10, 20, 30 pounds, somebody starts making more money, somebody all of a sudden is in a higher network, right? People who have more net worth. Those start to change, but the inner game doesn't change. What eventually happens?
You go back to the old ways, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
What happens is that the outer environments and the inner environments have to be in synchronicity. Your inner world must match up with your outer world, and your outer world must match up with your inner world. So when people come to me and go, hey, I'm listening to these programs that are changing my mind, da-da-da-da, and I look at them and I go, have you changed your physical environment yet? Have you changed your body environment yet? Have you changed your financial environment? If they say no, I know for a fact that within 60 to 90 days, they will revert back to their old behavior every single time. So what we do is we start with one environment first. You could start with your physical environment and say, you know what, I'm going to clean up the clutter in my office because I know that's going to impact my financial environment. Or you could look at your financial environment and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to eliminate everything in my financial environment that is just, $5 here, $10 here, $50 there. I'm going to free up 300 units of energy. What's a dollar? It's a unit of energy. I'm going to free up that energy so that I can put that into investing in a new business or investing in a new website or whatever it is. Right? So you start with one thing that gives you energy to lead to another. If you clean out a closet and you get rid of the clothes, make it a goal to take any clothes that you have not worn in the last 6 months and donate them. Watch what happens when you walk in and you fill that closet. You'll feel a sense of freedom, a sense of creativity, a sense of joy. Do the same thing in your office. If you're unclear of the vision of what you want, take everything out and only bring back in what you need to program you for a bigger, better future.
Beautiful. This is great advice. And Jim, we touched before about relationship, and I think it's important to focus on that. And I wanted to ask you specifically about family and spouse and the girlfriend. What are some of the tips that you can share to ensure that we can create the best environment to cultivate this? Because I think this has an important impact on how somebody can succeed in their professional life.
All right, so let me ask you a question. What is one upgrade, shift, or change that you would want to make?
Well, I think, in my case, it would be, I have 2 kids, so I think, finding the balance to spend more time with them and actually quality time with them, not just on the weekends, and, making more of a conscious attempt to have that creativity and time with the kids. This is really something that I am kind of putting a goal for myself.
Okay. So what's competing with that being a reality?
So in my case, obviously, it's work, building the firm, continuing to grow the firm and other things that I do. So I would say professionally, yeah. Professionally is the profession, the business side of it is what it comes in between.
So your current mimetic is producing a result that says that the amount of time that you invest in your business is disproportionately large to the amount of time you're investing with your kids. So if you look at the financial environment, that one is bigger than the relationship environment if we were using a size graph, right?
Yeah, probably.
All right. So you must have some kind of belief that says in order for your business to grow, it requires more of your what?
More of my time.
Your energy.
Yeah, my energy.
I want you to let go of time for a minute, because
energy.
time is a distraction, but your energy, you have units of energy. Every second is a unit of energy.
Yeah.
Every dollar is a unit of energy. So if I employ more units of energy into one area of my life, that is naturally going to expand.
Mm-hmm.
But what most people don't understand, and I know you know this from coming to the programs we've taught, is that your business is a job if it requires you.
Right. Absolutely.
Look at your business, Jacob, as an environment. And how would that environment have to be designed to actually free you up to invest more time traveling, investing time with your family, having more fun, doing more health? What would have to be in place in that business environment for it to not require you at all?
Right, which is something that we're actually working on right now. The systems that will free me as somebody that has to be here all the time and do more of the other things that I want to do, which is spend time with my kids at this point on a daily basis, as opposed to just the vacations, which I do, which I take a lot.
So what would have to happen for you to begin that transition now? In other words, if I give you a 90-day challenge, and I said in the next 90 days, you're going to go from investing 5 units of energy every day with your children to 15, to 30 to 60 to 90 to 120 to whatever it is that you want, what would have to shift?
Well, I think in my case specifically, it will be a more systemized structure of the day. Because there are some things that I spend more time, and I'm sure that people who listen, we tend to delve more, spend time on the phone with clients, or maybe do things that are not necessarily are crucial to the business, like maybe trying to talk to salespeople or whatever that can't free up my time to spend time with my kids, for example. So focus on what is important that I have to do. And whatever is not my job, somebody else has to do it. And and I'm working, of course, on that. It's a daily practice.
Okay, so what we may want to do is to take this offline for you, but I would look at a life redesign. And here's the reason why. Number one, you have to fall in love with the idea of what it is that you're going to invest your time with your kids. Okay, so to give you an example, this Saturday, my wife was away on a girls' trip. So this weekend, I had my 8-year-old son. So our epic adventure, we named it the Epic Adventure Boys Weekend, right? Mm-hmm. So it started on Friday night and it finished on Sunday night. And to give you an example, I planned a series of events on Saturday that kept he and I fully engaged the whole day. So we woke up in the morning, we played sports, we had fun. I had called some friends of his, had them meet us at the house. Then we went up and played laser tag. After laser tag, we went to go see the movie he'd want to see. After the movie, we came back to the house and we invited 2 more couples and friends over, and we grilled out while the kids played games and laughed. And by the end of the day, he was exhausted. We had a full day. We had magical memories, right? Well, that was me investing energy units in creating memories for my son and myself.
Excellent.
Okay.
So I like that because we both were able to kind of share this, and so people who listen may be able to relate and see how they can do the same for them. And I can tell you that if whether you're the most successful attorney or doctor or whatever you do, if you don't focus on the family side or the other side that is not the business, then there's no way you're going to be able to elevate yourself. And then,
well, the illusion, let me give you one last piece. I know you're wrapping up here. The illusion is this. The illusion is that people can play what we call the wealthy game and be successful. That's not success. That may be financial success, but it's not fulfillment. I would also encourage people, especially here in the United States, because we work with people across the world, is to relook at their core values. Most people, number one, don't know their core values. They think they do, but they don't. And to design your life around the things you value the most. If somebody put a pause button on your life and said, Jacob, you're done. Your physical existence is now done. Let's take a rewind and look at where you invested your life. Would you be happy about where you actually invested your life? Or did you buy into the excuses that, no, I have to build the business, I have to do this, it's got to be this certain way? You can build a very successful business that requires very little of your time, but you have to fall in love with living an ultimate life first. first, and that'll give you the motivation to restructure your business, to put the systems in place, to hire the team, to completely delegate your success to that business environment without it having you do anything that you don't want to be doing.
Excellent. So, Jim, do you want to share with us about the Ultimate Game of Life, the program that you offer, how to kind of gamify this for clients around the world, and then we'll, of course, have the links at the end of the show and the show notes, how people can join this.
Sure. This is one of my favorite environments. It's one of our businesses, and I built this environment because I wanted a place for myself and the world to be inspired. I wanted a place for people to live out and fulfill their dreams. I wanted a place for people to transform their environments systematically and prove that they can change their lives. So, I know that you're going to have a link for people to download some of the videos and the worksheets that we did for the 9 environments. That's actually the best place to start, because when people start wanting to know about the other programs that we've created, we've designed 28-day challenges, 90-day challenges, and a mastery program to help people master their finances, master their body, and master their minds. It's called the Ultimate Game of Life. But most people start with learning more about the 9 environments, because if they understand that core principle, then we can take them to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. And I believe that you're going to host those on your blog. Is that correct?
It's on the show notes. We have that, a link for that.
Yeah, so I encourage people to do that. I'm a pretty easy person to find on the internet. You can, search Jim Bunch, and you can search the Ultimate Game of Life, and we're pretty easy. We are about ready to completely redesign our website with all the mock-ups, and all the stuff is done, so they'll see a new look probably in the next 30 days. But go look at the 9 environments videos. Those are things that I've committed to help people start to redesign their environments. There's no charge for them, and every single person that has listened to them and shifted one environment has left us a message that said, wow, I never realized how important the environments are in creating my reality. So that's our gift, and I want to inspire 7 billion people to step up and play a bigger game in life.
Wow, and hopefully we'll be able to help you with that as well. So Jim, I want to mention again the ultimategameoflife.com, and again, Jim is available. If somebody has any questions, we'll be able to forward that as well. I wanted to thank you for coming on the show, Jim. It was a true pleasure, and I've learned a lot for myself, and I have a lot of things to think about as well, which hopefully others can be inspired too.
Well, Jacob, I know you're the kind of guy that won't just listen, you'll actually take the action, so I look forward to hearing what the impact is when you start shifting those environments.
Perfect. And once again, thanks for listening. This is Jacob at enchantinglawyer.com. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or send me an email. And we look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Thank you so much, and have a blessed day.